Today God desires to speak to you. Do not believe, my child, that it is by chance you have found this word today. I orchestrated this moment, just as I directed the steps of the prophets, and just as I called Abraham out of Ur, I have called you now, in the stillness of your heart, to hear my voice, for your soul has been restless, and your dwelling has been assaulted. You came seeking refuge. You came seeking peace for a weary soul and unwavering protection for a threatened dwelling. You are anxious, and your spirit senses the invisible warfare that presses against the boundaries of your life. But I tell you, be still, and know that I am God. I see you. I see the anxiety that settles upon your heart when the night comes, and the worry that clouds your day when you look upon the walls of your home and fear what lurks beyond. You feel the constant pressure of the adversary's gaze upon your peace, and you have wondered if the battle is too great for your strength. I know the desert season you have traversed, that period of scarcity and profound silence, where you felt my presence was hidden, like the cloud that covered the tabernacle, waiting for the command to move. Like my servant Joseph, you felt confined, thrown into a deep, dark cistern of despair, or wrongly imprisoned by circumstances beyond your control. You have pleaded, much like David hiding in the caves from Saul, waiting for justice and the return of stability. I have seen your struggles. I have recorded every tear shed in secret, believing that the promises I gave you were fading away. The howling winds of the sudden, violent storm have threatened to capsize your small boat of faith, and you cried out in the depths of your fear, "Lord, do you not care that we are perishing? My beloved, I care." The battle you face is indeed real, but I have promised that no weapon forged against you shall prosper. Isaiah 54:17. The enemy sought to pierce the roof of your dwelling, to disrupt the very foundation of your family, and to steal the covenant of peace I established within your heart. But listen closely. The period of intense vulnerability is ending. Your waiting has not been in vain. You questioned my silence. You assumed that because I was not speaking audibly or moving visibly, I was not moving powerfully. But my silence was a shield. The doors that closed so painfully in your face were not rejection. They were my providential detour, protecting you from premature battles and destructive alliances that would have cost you dearly. I was using that time of isolation to strengthen your inner man, preparing you for the weight of the blessing and the authority that is coming. The furnace of affliction, Isaiah 48:10, was necessary to refine your faith, removing the dross of fear and dependency on temporary things. Now I reveal my hand. You asked for protection, and I responded by dispatching my mighty host. I have commanded a contingent of my most powerful ministering spirits to encamp around your dwelling, Psalm 34:7. They are sent forth to serve those who shall inherit salvation, Hebrews 1:14. The angelic watchmen stand guard at the gates of your property, their swords drawn, prepared to enforce my covenant of safety over you and all those under your roof. I know that fear has tried to occupy your living room, confusion has tried to settle in your bedroom, and division has tried to sit at your dining table. But I declare today, my presence is the boundary line the enemy cannot cross. The enemy desired to sift you like wheat, to scatter your family, and to bring ruin upon your inheritance. But I have prayed for you, and I have prepared a refuge for you. Just as I covered the homes of my people in Egypt with the blood of the Lamb, I cover your home with the protection of my covenant. The destroyer cannot enter where my name is invoked and my authority is established. I am your shelter, your fortress, and your wall of fire round about. Let the fear of the dark be replaced by the certainty of my light. The spiritual atmosphere over your address is shifting now. Where there was heaviness, there shall be lightness. Where there was contention, there shall be covenant peace. Where there was threat, there shall be the manifest presence of my defending host. I am confirming my word to you. I myself will be a protective hedge around your life, your belongings, and the work of your hands. Job 1:10. You will sleep in peace. You will wake without dread. Your going out and your coming in is covered, from this time forth and forevermore. This is not a temporary relief I offer, but an eternal promise sealed by my faithfulness. Numbers 23:19. Prepare your heart to witness the manifestation of my protection, not just over your spirit, but over the physical walls you inhabit. The season of vulnerability is over. Now begins the season of supernatural covering and rest. Trust my plan. Trust my timing. Trust my word. Receive this word of peace and security now. Say, Amen. I know the questions that have echoed in the hidden chambers of your heart. You wondered why the breakthrough tarried. You questioned the purpose of the long night and the seemingly endless season of waiting. You cried out in the silence, asking, My God, why did you allow this detour? Why did you permit this barrenness in my field? Hear me now, for I speak to the very core of your weary soul. My silence was not absence. My delay was not denial. Every experience you endured, every tear you shed into the darkness, was measured and accounted for. The waiting was necessary because I was not merely preparing the blessing for you. I was preparing you for the blessing. You were subjected to the furnace, not to be consumed, but to be refined. Did not my word teach you that the testing of your faith produces endurance, and endurance, character? Romans 5:3-4, 1 Peter 1:6-7. You needed the crucible to burn away the dross of impatience, the residue of past dependencies, and the vulnerabilities that would have compromised the abundance I am now releasing. Had I released the promise prematurely, before your roots grew deep in the soil of my trust, the winds of adversity would have uprooted you entirely. The weight of the blessing would have crushed you, because you lacked the spiritual fortitude forged only in the heat of waiting. The pressure you felt was my hand strengthening your foundation, deepening your reliance on me alone. I did not want you to rely on fleeting comforts or human wisdom. I wanted you to know the unwavering strength that flows only from the living water. And what of the doors that were shut violently in your face? What of the opportunities that slipped through your grasp, leaving you with the bitter taste of rejection? You viewed those closures as failure. I orchestrated them as deliverance. In my sovereign plan, I see the beginning and the end. I know the dangers hidden on the paths that seem most inviting to the natural eye. Every door I sealed, every relationship I cut short, every path I redirected you from was done to safeguard your destiny and preserve your integrity. You wept over the loss of a position, unaware that it was a pit filled with hidden snares designed to derail your purpose. You fought to maintain a connection, unknowing that the spirit of strife and destruction resided there. I closed those doors because they led to premature endings, to compromises that would have wounded your spirit more deeply than the temporary pain of rejection ever could. Think of Joseph. His journey through the pit and the prison seemed like a series of catastrophic setbacks. Yet every closed door, from the cistern to the Pharaoh's dungeon, was my divine choreography, positioning him, teaching him governance, and preparing him to save nations. The path of suffering prepared him for the seat of power. Your suffering was not meaningless, it was instruction. Your struggle was not in vain, it was preparation. I held you back from the lesser thing so that you would be ready for the greater thing, the thing that aligns perfectly with the blueprint I established for your life before the foundations of the world were laid. Ephesians 1:4. Now, the season of instruction is complete. The lessons learned in the desert are the wisdom you carry into your promised land. The scars you bear are the testimonies that will inspire many. You were tested in secret so that you may shine in public. The very attributes that were developed in the lean season, patience, resilience, deep discernment, and an unbreakable reliance on my voice, are the tools you will need to steward the abundance I am now pouring out upon you. You are no longer the one who was vulnerable to the enemy's schemes because you have been fortified by the trials you overcame. You know my voice in the storm because you listened in the silence. You recognize my faithfulness in the provision because you trusted me in the famine. The sorrow you carried was heavy, but I allowed it to ensure that when the blessing comes, your gratitude will be deep and your stewardship will be faithful. Lift your eyes, my child. That which the enemy intended for evil, I have meticulously woven together for your ultimate triumph. Genesis 50:20. The turning point is here. The refining fire has cooled. Now, take your place. The season of justification and visible manifestation is upon you. You have endured. Now, you shall inherit. This is my purpose, and it will not be frustrated. Listen to me now, for I will reveal the hidden workings of my hands during your long night. You questioned my timing. You measured my love by the immediate fulfillment of your desires. But I tell you, my ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Isaiah 55:9. The delay was not denial. It was necessary preparation, strategic protection, and profound formation. I am not a God who builds upon shifting sand. If I had released the fullness of the blessing, the ministry, the relationship, or the abundance into your hands before the root system was deep, the first major storm would have torn it out entirely. Shallow roots yield temporary fruit. I was concerned not with the swiftness of your ascent, but with the permanence of your establishment. You have endured years in a crucible, feeling the heat, believing you were being consumed. But I was not punishing you. I was purifying you. I was burning away the dross of impatience, the residue of past dependencies, and the need for human validation. Every time you sought counsel from men and found no lasting answer, it was I gently guiding your spirit back to the only true source. Every moment of desperate prayer was cementing a foundation of faith that no future trial can shake. Do you remember the doors that slammed shut right in your face? The opportunities that vanished just as you reached out for them? You wept over those closed entries, believing you had missed your destiny or that the enemy had prevailed. But I tell you today, every single closed door was my sovereign act of deliverance. The path you desperately tried to take was filled with snares and spiritual assassins designed to derail you permanently. That partnership you craved held a poison I shielded you from. That quick elevation would have exposed you prematurely to burdens and attacks you were not yet equipped to handle. I, your shepherd, did not simply watch you wander. I pulled you back, sometimes painfully, from the edge of the cliff. I allowed the discomfort of the wilderness so that you would not perish in the deceptive comfort of Egypt. My protection often masquerades as rejection. My love sometimes manifests as a divine intervention that looks like loss. I delayed the answer because the vessel required shaping. The blessing I am bringing forth now is too weighty, too glorious, and too enduring for the fragile person you were 2 years ago. I needed you to learn to trust my provision when the cupboard was bare, just as I taught the widow of Zarephath. I needed you to understand my presence in the absolute darkness, just as I was with Joseph in the dungeon. I needed you to rely on my word alone, just as the children of Israel relied on the manna I provided daily. Now look at yourself. You are stronger, quieter, and deeper. You are rooted in my truth, not in the fluctuating circumstances of this world. You know now that your dependence is only upon me. The weight has stripped you of arrogance and clothed you in humility and unshakable resilience. This new character is the necessary foundation for the glory that is about to be revealed. Therefore, lift your head. The period of obscurity is over. The season of waiting in secret is complete. I am about to bring forth your judgment as the light, and your righteousness as the noonday sun. Psalm 37:6. Your vindication will not be subtle, it will be visible, undeniable, and permanent. Those who mocked your faith will witness my hand upon your life, and they will know that the Lord God Almighty was the one who upheld you in the desert. I am the God who keeps covenant and mercy. I am not a man that I should lie, nor a son of man that I should change my mind. Numbers 23:19. What I have purposed, I will perform. What I have promised, I will fulfill. The turning point is not coming. It is here. Step out of the shadow of your past disappointment and walk into the brilliance of your divine inheritance. The time for justification and manifestation has arrived. My beloved child, look back upon the seasons of drought, the moments when your prayers seemed to hit a ceiling of brass. You felt forgotten. You believed that I was indifferent to your tears, that the enemy had won the right to occupy the territory I had assigned to you. But I tell you this day, my silence was not absence. It was the intense labor of preparation. How could I entrust you with the abundance you have longed for if the vessel was not first strengthened to carry the weight of glory? I allowed the fire to burn, not to consume you, but to purge the dross. Zechariah 13:9. The pressure you experienced was not meant to crush your spirit, but to mold your character into the image of my Son. You cried out for relief, but I knew that if I removed the resistance too soon, you would remain soft, unable to stand firm when the true winds of destiny blew. You needed to learn to rely not on the strength of your own arm, nor on the counsel of men, but solely upon the unfailing power of my Spirit. The wilderness refined your appetite. It taught you that my word is true bread, Matthew 4:4, and that the streams of man's approval quickly run dry. In that desolate place, I stripped away the dependencies that bound you, the unhealthy attachments, the idols disguised as good plans, the compromises that would have diluted your calling. I needed to ensure that when the blessing arrived, you would recognize the giver and not merely worship the gift. Understand this deeper truth concerning the doors that closed. Remember the pathways that abruptly ended, causing frustration and deep disappointment. You cried out, asking why I withheld good things from you. You felt rejected by man, believing those failures were proof of your unworthiness. But I, who see the end from the beginning, Isaiah 46:10, declare this truth over your life. The doors I closed were not rejection. They were absolute deliverance. Behind those appealing yet fragile openings lay snares and destruction, disguised as opportunity. Had I granted you what you desired, then before the time of your maturity, it would have led you off the path of destiny. I saw the hidden cost, the future sorrow, the spiritual contamination that was attached to that apparent success. I protected your covenant by denying your present request. I was shielding you from alliances that would have drawn your focus away from the divine mandate I placed upon you. I allowed the separation so that your dependence would rest solely upon the one who holds the keys to death and to life. I know the thoughts that you have carried. My time has passed. I am too old. I am too broken. I made too many mistakes. These are the whisperings of the adversary, attempting to invalidate the purpose I established before the foundation of the world. Do not entertain the lie of scarcity. My resources are infinite, and my timing is perfect. Look at Abraham and Sarah. Look at the barren womb I opened in the fullness of time. My power is perfected in your weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. For too long, you have felt like Joseph in the pit, or David hiding in the cave of Adullam, hidden, forgotten, and misjudged. But just as I brought Joseph out of the prison and placed him second only to the throne, and just as I established David as king, I am bringing you forth now. The season of obscurity is breaking. The time of hiding is over. You have been tested and your faith has proven true. You have maintained your integrity when every voice told you to compromise. Now, the weight of the test is being lifted, and the time for your justification has arrived. The vindication I bring will not be silent. It will be visible. The enemies who spoke ill of you, the critics who doubted your calling, the very people who benefited from your obedience and then cast you aside, they shall see the glory of the Lord manifested in your life. Isaiah 60:1-3. You have paid the price in secret. Now, I will reward you openly. The seed of the promise you held on to, even in the coldest night, is breaking ground. What was taken from you shall be restored, not in the measure of what was lost, but in the measure of my divine multiplication. Joel 2:25. I am restoring your name, your dignity, and your inheritance. Receive the justification you have awaited, for the Lord your God is establishing his covenant in your favor. Do not shrink back. The fight is won and the harvest is ready. Step into the manifestation of what I promised. Do you truly believe I am a God who fails to account for the tears shed in secret? Do you imagine that I closed my eyes when the enemy whispered lies against your future? Hear me now and let this revelation be the true cornerstone of your new season. The delay was not a denial. The silence was not abandonment. Many times you stood before a locked door and begged me for the key, agonizing over the opportunity you believed was being stolen. You saw rejection where I saw protection. You perceived failure where I was enacting sovereign deliverance. You do not comprehend the magnitude of the dangers that lurked behind those sealed entrances. Had I given you the immediate breakthrough you desired, it would have been premature, leading you down a path contaminated by compromise, hidden bondage, or pride that would have shattered the vessel I was preparing. I know the paths I have ordained for you, Jeremiah 29:11. I saw the deceitful alliances that would have crippled your calling, the contracts that were poison disguised as profit, and the relationships that were meant to consume your spiritual life. I did not allow you to walk through those temporary gates because I was holding you back for the eternal door, the one that no man can shut, Revelation 3:8, the path that leads directly to the abundant place I prepared before the foundation of the world. Understand this deeply. I am the God who leads my people through the long, difficult route to keep them safe from the warfare they are not yet prepared to face. Exodus 13:17. The waiting period, the wilderness you hated, was the necessary school of character. You were crying out for the blessing, but I was focused on building the vessel strong enough to carry the blessing without being destroyed by it. The anointing I am pouring out upon you now is too potent, too high, too weighty for the fragile ego or the dependence on earthly comforts that once defined you. How could you have learned true dependence if the cisterns were never dry? How could you have known the reality of my provision if the pantry was always full? I permitted the leanness of that season so that you would learn to eat the bread of my word and drink from the well of my spirit. Matthew 4:4. I stripped away your reliance on human strength, connections, and worldly systems so that when the breakthrough finally arrived, you would have no doubt, no human boasting that this monumental achievement belongs entirely to me, the Lord your God. I was purifying your motives. The fire that burned away your temporary resources was refining your faith, making it more precious than gold. 1 Peter 1:7. I needed to ensure that when I place you in positions of influence and authority, your heart would remain humble, rooted in gratitude and focused solely on my purpose. The enemy told you that your trial was punishment. I tell you today that your trial was promotion. The solitude you endured was necessary for me to speak deep secrets into your spirit, to mature your prophetic ear, and to establish the unwavering conviction that my promises are yes and amen. 2 Corinthians 1:20. Look back at the person you were when this trial began, and look at the warrior you have become. You are seasoned, you are tested, you are ready. Now, because you have endured the crucible, because you did not curse me in the darkest hour, because you held fast to the promise when the evidence suggested otherwise, now I can entrust you with the full weight of your destiny. You have learned the lesson of the desert. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. The doors I once sealed are now opening in synchronized perfection. The connections I once denied are now being established with people of character and destiny. I have prepared the hearts of those who will receive you, and I have aligned the seasons of time and chance to favor the purpose I have designed for your life. Do not allow the memory of past pain to overshadow the glory of the present manifestation. See the restoration that is upon you, not as a recovery from tragedy, but as the establishment of my eternal covenant in your temporal reality. This is the hour where the seed of faith you planted years ago, watered by your tears and preserved by my hand, is finally yielding a harvest of geometric proportion. Step out of the shadow of what ifs and walk into the sunlight of what is. The long wait has ended. The purpose is revealed. Now, receive the reward of endurance. Do you truly believe that I, the eternal God, would waste a single moment of your life? Listen closely, for this is the explanation you have sought in the long nights of silence and the barren days of waiting. You perceived the delay as neglect, but I tell you now, the waiting was not a pause in my plan. It was the crucible of your character. I did not allow you to possess the fullness of the promise immediately because the vessel was not yet prepared to contain the magnitude of the blessing. You desired the harvest, but the root system was too shallow. Had I poured the abundance into you prematurely, the pressure would have fractured you, and the swiftness of the elevation would have led to a spectacular collapse. I am not the God who provides a fragile inheritance. I build monuments that withstand the storms of time. Therefore, I permitted the fire, not to consume you, but to purge the dross, the fear, the reliance upon human strength, the tendency to seek validation from the temporary world. Every moment of pressure was calibrated precisely to refine your faith into indestructible gold. When you felt weakness, I was teaching you where true strength lies. When you felt despair, I was rooting out the idols of self-sufficiency. Remember the words written of my servants. They were prepared in the wilderness before they commanded the promised land. They wrestled with angels and with men, not to prove their strength to me, but to prove to themselves the depth of my sustaining power. You questioned why the promotion was denied, why the relationship ended, why the opportunity evaporated just as your hand reached for it. Now, look, back with the clarity I grant you today. Those closed doors were not rejection, they were my sovereign protection. I saw the trap that lay hidden behind the veneer of that seemingly perfect path. I saw the corrosive influence that would have defiled your dedication. I saw the heavy yoke that was too great for you to bear without losing the very essence of your soul. The things you mourned losing were the very things I strategically removed to lighten your load for the true, high calling I have reserved only for you. You cried out, "Why did you turn your face from me?" I answer you today. I did not turn my face away. I positioned my hand as a shield, deflecting arrows you never even saw aimed at your heart. You were focused on the single door that was locked, but I was busy dismantling the entire structure that sought to entrap you. The path I lead you upon is one of righteousness, and it requires a preparation that the world cannot understand. The people I have removed from your life were necessary sacrifices, not to cause you pain, but to create the sacred space required for the covenant relationships I am now establishing. I cannot place new wine into old wineskins. I am tearing down the structures of your past dependency to build an indestructible foundation of reliance solely upon me. This season of seeming barrenness taught you to hear my whisper in the quiet when the clamor of the world was silenced. It taught you patience, a virtue required not merely for waiting, but for governing. The one who cannot manage the self during the period of trial is unfit to lead others in the season of triumph. Now the preparation is complete. The refining process is finished. You have endured the heat, and you emerged purified, not broken. This transition from waiting to ruling is marked by a deep internal peace. You no longer chase fleeting opportunities. You recognize the divine appointment. You no longer fear lack. You understand the inexhaustible nature of my provision. I am the God who makes crooked paths straight. I am redeeming every single tear you wept in that lonely place. I am bringing forth the testimony of my faithfulness in a way that silences every accuser and justifies every moment of your struggle. Receive this reassurance. You are no longer navigating the wilderness alone, striving for a promise you hope to find. You are walking into the fulfillment that I have already secured. The former things are passed away. Behold, I make all things new, and this newness is not just recovery, it is establishment. Let the memory of the past discouragement serve only one purpose: to magnify the glory of my intervention in your present reality. Your history of pain is now sanctified. It has become the bedrock upon which I build your future authority. Do not look back with regret at the time spent in the desert. Look forward with anticipation, for the desert season has qualified you for the promised land abundance. I have established your steps. The doors that were necessary to close remain closed. The doors that I open now, no man can shut. Walk through them with confidence, for the Spirit of the living God walks before you. You must understand this truth today. The time you measured as delay I ordained as necessary incubation. My beloved child, you have asked me 1,000 times, crying out in the deep watches of the night, why did I have to wait so long? Why did the promise seem to stall just at the precipice of fulfillment? You measured time by the calendar of man, but I operate according to the eternal rhythm of my sovereign plan. You were not waiting for me, you were waiting with me, while I worked deep within the hidden chambers of your soul. I cannot pour new wine into old wineskins, Matthew 9:17. If I had given you the magnitude of the blessing, the measure of the anointing, or the weight of the authority I have prepared for you, before the foundation was set, it would have crushed you. It would have consumed you. The early glory, untethered by proven character, always leads to swift destruction. I know your heart. You saw others seemingly bypass the season of pruning and enter quickly into harvest. You compared your barren field to their overflowing basket. But I am not a God who deals in superficial display. My work in you is deep, intricate, and everlasting. I was not interested in giving you a temporary fix. I was establishing an enduring legacy. The fire that felt like judgment was in truth the refining fire of my love. I sat as the refiner and purifier of silver, Malachi 3:3. I did not turn my gaze away. Every tear, every moment of fear, every instance where the enemy tried to plant doubt in the fertile ground of your spirit, I was there. I was carefully stripping away the dross, removing the mixtures, and burning off the impurities that could never coexist with the pure gold of my purpose. The preparation was not merely for the external work, it was for the internal capacity. The weight of glory requires a strong back, a humble spirit, and a proven heart. The season in the wilderness taught you to depend on me alone for your daily bread, Deuteronomy 8:3. The silence taught you to recognize my voice above the clamor of the world. The pressure taught you endurance, faithfulness, and the knowledge that I am the only secure rock upon which you stand. Do not dare to look back on that time and call it wasted. It was your training ground. It was the school of the Spirit. It was the necessary solitude where I spoke to your heart as a man speaks to his friend. Let me address the heartbreak of the opportunities that vanished, the relationships that failed, and the doors that slammed shut in your face. You believed those closed doors represented my rejection, or perhaps my refusal to acknowledge your efforts. But hear me clearly today. The doors I closed were not denial. They were divine deliverance. I knew the end from the beginning, Isaiah 46:10. I saw the snares that were set along those paths. I saw the poison disguised as opportunity. I saw the hidden cost of those agreements. If I had allowed you to step into the comfort you desired prematurely, you would have aborted the greater destiny I had planned. I sheltered you from environments that would have polluted your calling. I broke connections that were designed to drain your anointing. You prayed for protection, and I answered by intercepting the very things you thought you needed. When you wept over the betrayal of a friend or the dismissal from a position, you thought the enemy had won a victory. But I, the Lord of hosts, was actively turning the counsel of the Ahithophels in your life into foolishness, 2 Samuel 15:31. I created confusion in the camps of your adversaries so that they could not fully execute their schemes against you. My hand was upon you, guiding you by a way you did not know, leading you in paths you had not recognized. Isaiah 42:16. The closed doors were my loving boundaries, ensuring you remained positioned for the breakthrough that is holy, pure, and undefiled by the corruption of the world. Now you stand at a place of maturity and resilience that you did not possess when you first cried out for this promise. You are now rooted and grounded in my love, Ephesians 3:17. The foundation is complete. The character is proven. I, the Lord, do not lie, Numbers 23:19. What I have spoken through my prophets, what I have established in my word, and what I have whispered to your heart in the stillness, I will bring it to pass. I am preparing the table before you in the presence of your enemies, Psalm 23:5. They will see the honor I confer upon you. They will witness the reversal of fortune. They will acknowledge that the God you serve is real, and that the long night was merely the prelude to the eternal dawn. The season of scarcity has concluded. The season of waiting in the shadows is over. The season of justification and vindication is upon you. My faithfulness to you is the guarantee of your future. The very resources, the relationships, and the opportunities that evaded you in the past are now being drawn to you by the magnet of my spirit. You will find that things that once required tremendous struggle now align effortlessly because I have cleared the path ahead. Walk in confidence. The Spirit of the living God walks before you, making the crooked places straight and breaking the gates of bronze. Isaiah 45:2. Do not hesitate. Do not look to the right or to the left. Fix your eyes upon me, the author and finisher of your faith. I am doing a swift work. I am moving rapidly on your behalf. Receive this word and allow it to settle the anxiety within your spirit. Be at peace, for your redemption is drawing near. I am doing a swift work. I am moving rapidly on your behalf. Receive this word and allow it to settle the anxiety within your spirit. Be at peace, for your redemption is drawing near. My beloved child, I know the weariness that settled upon your soul during the long midnight watch. You looked at the calendar and remembered the dates I spoke into your spirit, the timing of the promise. And you wondered why the fulfillment seemed to lag. You compared your journey to others who received their harvest swiftly, and the bitter root of doubt began to whisper, "Has God forgotten?" Let me silence that whisper now with the truth of my eternal nature. I have not forgotten you, nor have I failed in my timing. My word is immutable. It cannot return to me void. Isaiah 55:11. But you must understand the nature of divine preparation. The most glorious structures require the deepest and longest foundations. The season of delay, which felt like the harsh, barren desert, was not a punishment, but a sacred refining. I needed to ensure that when the massive blessing arrived, the Innosan vessel carrying it, which is you, would not shatter under the weight of glory or the pressure of prominence. Think of Joseph. I could have taken him straight from his father's house to the throne of Egypt. But if I had, the arrogance of the dreamer would have destroyed the governor. He needed the darkness of the pit and the isolation of the prison to learn humility, governance, and divine reliance. He needed to learn to trust my faithfulness when all human evidence pointed to abandonment. Your experience in the valley was the same. I was removing the chaff, the human strategies, the dependency on fleeting relationships, and the reliance on your own strength. I allowed the stripping away so that when you stand on the elevated platform I have prepared for you, your confidence rests solely on the rock that is higher than you. Psalm 61:2. The silence you perceived was me speaking into the deepest places of your character, cultivating endurance and maturing your faith. Romans 5:3-4. I needed you to understand that my provision is not found in the strength of men, but in my eternal sufficiency. I stripped away the crutches so that you would walk solely leaning upon my Spirit. This season of testing was the crucible, designed to purify your motives. I am not merely giving you provision, I am entrusting you with stewardship. And only those who have been faithful in the small, difficult things can be trusted with the great things I am unfolding now. Now let us speak of those painful moments of rejection. You sought certain doors with fervor, pouring out your energy, your time, and your prayers, only to watch them slam shut with a resounding echo of failure. You took those rejections personally, believing they were evidence of your inadequacy or lack of favor. But my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways. Isaiah 55:8-9. I tell you this with absolute authority. Every single door that closed was my act of divine deliverance. Behind that perfect job, that ideal relationship, or that seemingly unmissable opportunity, there was a hidden snare, a long-term trap dug by the enemy to derail your true purpose and ultimately consume your destiny. If I had granted you those desires prematurely, you would have settled for a counterfeit blessing, diverting you from the unparalleled inheritance I have reserved exclusively for you. I permitted the temporary pain of rejection to save you from permanent wreckage. Do you remember my servant Paul? He was determined to preach in Asia and Bithynia, aligning his mission with his human logic. Yet the Spirit of Jesus prevented him. Acts 16:6-7. Why? Because I had a greater assignment waiting, the Macedonian call, which would reshape the history of nations. Paul was not denied. He was redirected and delivered into a higher purpose. Do not mourn the things I snatched away. Do not weep over the connections I severed. I removed them because they carried poison you could not see, or because they were too small to contain the enormity of the vision I am now bringing to pass. My sovereignty dictates your true path. The path I cleared ahead of you is illuminated, secure, and leads directly to the manifestation of my glory in your life. The path you wanted was crooked, weighed down by unnecessary burdens, and shadowed by opposition I did not intend for you to face. Be grateful for the delays, be grateful for the rejections. They were the evidence of my love fighting on your behalf, guarding your heart and preserving your future. You have successfully navigated the wilderness. You have endured the refinement. Now, the season of waiting is concluding, and the season of swift fulfillment is upon you. You are moving out of the land of scarcity and into the land of abundance, not just financially, but spiritually, emotionally, and relationally. Where you once saw barriers, you will now see wide open gates. Where you once felt weakness, you will be clothed with strength. Isaiah 40:29. I promised you rest, and I will give you rest. Promised you restoration, and I will repay the years the locusts have eaten. Joel 2:25. Because you remained faithful when the pressure was unbearable, you will now receive the reward of endurance. Lift your eyes. Discard the garments of heaviness and rejection. Clothe yourself in the garment of praise. Isaiah 61:3. The old season is behind you, and the new season requires a new mindset. A mindset of victory, expectation, and profound gratitude. I am the God who makes crooked places straight. I am the God who breaks the gates of bronze. I am moving rapidly on your behalf. Receive this word, absorb its truth, and walk forward in unshakable peace. Your redemption is here. Your redemption is here. Do not let your heart be troubled by the shadows of yesterday, for I am making all things new, and I am the God who brings forth light out of darkness. 2 Corinthians 4:6. Listen closely, my child, to the final decree sealed by my immutable counsel. I have seen the tears you cried in secret places, the moments you whispered, "Has God forgotten me?" I saw the affliction of your soul, the weariness that settled upon your spirit like a heavy mist. You thought that the long, dark stretch of road was meaningless, a sheer waste of time, energy, and hope. But I tell you now, every solitary moment, every act of faith whispered in the storm, every time you chose to trust me instead of yielding to despair, was being woven meticulously into the grand tapestry of your ultimate triumph. This is the great and abiding truth that I declare over your life this day, the truth that must anchor your soul. In all things, you will fare well. This is not a fleeting wish or a hopeful declaration based on human optimism. This is a covenant promise. Romans 8:28. I assure you that all things, the good and the seemingly disastrous, the provision and the painful lack, the healing and the long waiting, the victory and the temporary defeat, all these things have been orchestrated by my sovereign hand to cooperate for your profound and everlasting good. You struggled to understand why the door to the cistern was sealed shut, why the chains of betrayal seemed to bind you for so long, why the Red Sea stood impassable before you while the enemy pursued relentlessly. You wrestled with the narrative of your own life, asking, "Where is the justice? Where is the reward for my faithfulness?" I reveal to you now the unseen work I performed in that period of isolation. The pressure was necessary to refine the gold of your character, removing the dross of fear, reliance on self, and attachment to temporary securities. I allowed the heat not to consume you, but to certify you. The very trial, that sought to destroy your faith has now become the unshakable foundation of your testimony. The good that I promise is not merely the restoration of what you lost. It is the elevation of your spirit, the deepening of your intimacy with me, and the establishment of a platform from which you will minister strength to others. Your past scars are not marks of shame. They are symbols of my keeping power and credentials that testify to my perfect faithfulness. Look upon the history of my dealings with man. Have I ever spoken a word and failed to perform it? Have I ever promised rescue and abandoned my people in the deep waters? What I have decreed, I will bring to pass. My counsel stands firm forever, and the thoughts of my heart endure to all generations. Psalm 33:11. Every single promise I gave you in the early hours of your journey, when your faith was young and bold, I affirm today. With the full weight of my eternal being, did I promise provision? Watch now as the windows of heaven open over your dwelling place, pouring out a blessing so abundant that there will not be room enough to contain it. Malachi 3:10. Did I promise healing? Stand firm, for I am the Lord, your healer. Exodus 15:26. The weakness you felt is giving way to supernatural strength, and the pain that lingered is being absorbed into the eternal peace that flows from my presence. Did I promise restoration of relationships, of finances, of lost time? I am the restorer of paths to dwell in. Isaiah 58:12. I will restore to you the years the locust has eaten. Joel 2:25. You will reap with singing what you sowed in tears. Psalm 126:5. The speed of your recovery will defy human logic, for I accelerate time when it serves my ultimate purpose. Therefore, discard the spirit of hesitation and doubt. The season of questioning. My presence is over. The season of waiting in uncertainty has concluded. You are now entering the season of manifestation, the season of undeniable evidence. Your walk must now reflect the certainty of my word. Walk with your head held high, not in arrogance, but in the quiet confidence of one who knows they are deeply loved and eternally protected. When challenges arise, and they will, for earth is subject to change, let your first response be praise, and your second be rest. Do not fear the giants in the land. They are merely confirmation that the inheritance I promised is vast and worthy of the fight. The victory is already sealed by the blood of the Lamb. Your role is simply to occupy the ground I have already purchased for you. I give you now a peace that transcends all human understanding. Philippians 4:7. Let this peace guard your heart and your mind against the anxieties that the enemy tries to project into your future. Do not allow your mind to rehearse old wounds or fear potential new ones. My grace is sufficient for you, and my strength is made perfect in your weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. I have established your steps. The next door you walk through will be the right door. The next decision you make, guided by my Spirit, will lead to prosperity and breakthrough. In everything you set your hand to do, you will prosper, because your roots are now deeply planted by the rivers of living water. Psalm 1:3. I am calling you higher. I am calling you to look beyond the immediate need and grasp the eternal calling placed upon your life. The time for hiding your light is over. Let your light shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Matthew 5:16. This word is complete. It is true, it is eternal, and it is activated by your faith. Now lift up your spirit and receive this declaration. Open the deepest chamber of your heart and seal this covenant truth. Say, I receive this word. I believe my season has changed. I accept the peace of God which surpasses understanding. If this message has stirred your soul and confirmed the deep whisper of my spirit within you, do not keep this treasure hidden. Share this truth with another soul who is weary and needs to know that I am faithful, that I do not forget my children, and that truly, in all things, they will fare well. Walk in the fullness of your destiny, beloved. Go forth now in absolute peace. I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Amen.